Hello, world, and welcome to Pardon the Politics podcast, season 2, episode 24.
No
This is
Jack Bauer.
Bruh, this is a special episode. We're cleaning the palate with this episode, and we're not going to talk about politics. It's too much to talk about at this point, and quite frankly, for 23 episodes, we have done enough that, quite frankly, the boys need a break. But this is a special week that is coming up, and this is Father's Day weekend that has just passed, and we need some recognition, right?
Absolutely. So, we work hard 365 days out of the year, 66 if it's a leap year.
Bruh.
We deserve it.
And for our listeners, first of all, as we always do, we want to thank you for tuning in to this episode. But as a special treat, we have the umbrella of LXI that will be joining us in this episode. And obviously, you have me, your co-host, Jeezy, and you have my brother and my partner in politics, Manny. But we also have some additions to this episode. We have our brother, Chuck, from Encompass podcast that's under our LXI umbrella. So shout out to Chuck. What's good, my brother?
My brothers, what's going on,
man?
Hey.
Yes, sir.
Not only do we have Chuck, but we also have our regional therapist, our brother Eric, that is joining us as well, who is a part of LXI. So shout out to Eric. What's good, my brother? How you doing?
What's going on, family? What's going on, y'all? Doing good. Appreciate y'all boys.
Hey,
hey man, you introduced Eric like he was the assistant to the assistant at Dunder Mifflin, our regional therapist.
That man gave me the specific title.
I mean, bro, I wanted to keep it professional, but also I wanted to at least acknowledge my man's accomplishments. So,
Indeed.
Our brother here. So this is a special episode for us, and I'm so honored, and me and Manny both are just privileged just to be able to bring those that are within the umbrella to this episode that we're gonna talk about fatherhood. I think that this is something that we don't talk enough about, and certainly we've all said it, and you've heard on previous episode that the father, the Black father in the community, sometimes doesn't get the acknowledgement that he deserves. So we definitely want to make sure that we do this on this episode. And I just want to say before we jump into this, that right now we have the highest quality of fatherhood that you will ever have in one episode. So to my brothers that are with this, you guys, happy Father's Day. Thank you for the contribution that you do to your families. And like we always say at the end of our episodes, that nobody loves you. If don't nobody love you, we love you here at the podcast. The love that I have and we have for each other as fathers, and what you guys exemplify for your families, I just want you guys to know that you are revered, you are top notch, you are top tier. And I'm just glad that we're doing this episode, man. So this is shout out to y'all, man. So shout out to LXI fathers, man.
Oh yeah,
yes sir.
And the ones that couldn't join us due to other commitments. Why? Because they're also Black fathers.
Mm-hmm.
We love y'all. You know, I think one of the things that we don't necessarily talk about is that in this journey of Black fatherhood, the need for having a village. And really just having a group of guys that you can go to and just pour out your heart a little bit. You know, we're in a world that really forces you into a box, and to have that place where we can talk frequently, and not only just to listen to me. Like, I've had conversations with all these guys, and you know, in a good portion, they'll be like, "Hey man, are you right on this?" But in other cases, they'll be like, "Hey man, you were wrong on this one. You got to go fix this. You got to approach this differently." So there's a deep importance, not only for all fathers, but especially Black fathers, to have a place they can go to really just check in and level set. And you know, you all, I appreciate that that you guys provide to me.
Well, I was going to say at the beginning of the episode that black fathers matter. But I know that when you take 2 or 3 words, and in America, if you say black it matters, it's not received as well. So I'm gonna say the present African American father is important. That's a lot to put on a t-shirt. That's a lot to put on a t-shirt. But I don't want black and I don't want matters to get caught up in the mix. So thank you for the contribution that you all do. And I'm gonna say this to go ahead and get the conversation started. Who is our top 5 black dads in America? That could be in sitcoms. That could be in TV.
Oh no! Not, see, I thought.
No. I'm gonna throw you a curveball. It could be in any shape, form, or fashion. Who is our top 5 black dads? Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove myself from this situation, and we'll talk about this later on in the episode. But the example that I had set forth, Moesha's dad would be number 1 for me. So, and we all know how horrible of a dad he was. He didn't tell Dorian that he was really his son. He let this man think he was his nephew for 18 years, and then told him that he was his dad, and then shipped him off to the military. So, I'm discounted from this conversation.
Hey,
from your
black trauma.
But, bruh, heavy, and we'll talk about it later on in the episode. But who do you consider top 5 black dads?
Okay, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna make this real easy.
Okay.
Deion.
Bruh. Won't Deion just arrested in Raleigh? Like
he was.
Yeah, he was. He was.
That's a good example of a black dad. Okay.
Okay, no, go ahead, Danny.
All right. See, you threw me a curve because I had prepped for some of this. All right. Mm-hmm. So, number 1.
Will's dad?
I want to, but you opened it up like you did.
Will's.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't.
I'm not Will's dad. Sorry, you said Will's dad. I was like, Uncle Phil.
No.
Coming from the fan of Moesha's dad, that's appropriate.
Yeah, I got Will's dad number 2. I'm gonna get my top 5 off in the midst of this.
But hold on,
number 2.
Which Will's dad? Fresh Prince or Bel Air?
No. The truck driver one that came and acted like he was gonna pick him up and left him crying in Uncle Phil's hands. Yeah, that's number 2. He a good man.
All right, so my number 1, separating the person from the actor, is I'm going to go with Cliff Huxtable.
Yeah, Peel Huxtable. We're going Peel.
Right. Okay, I'm gonna go with him. Just the impact, I think, to really just be on the forefront of America and that TV, and then I'll probably steal a good portion of what Chuck is getting ready to say regarding him, but his impact, he is my number 1, Cliff Huxtable. Not to be confused with Bill Cosby, because those are 2 different people.
Very similar,
though. Can
I say this real quick? And I'm sorry. But when you go back and watch some of those episodes and you realize who Peel Huxtable was,
just that frame of mind,
is it not possible that Claire was a little high too?
I mean, he did have the capacity to write prescriptions.
That's why we got Chuck here. See, that's
so. Anyways,
thank you. I digress. Let me back off.
Connected too much.
Thank you, Chuck.
My number 2 is Uncle Phil. Number 2 is Uncle Phil. My number 3, I'm going Barack Obama.
Obama? Why?
I'm going Obama. Look, man, to be the leader of the free world and then to raise 2 black girls, successfully. Now, he had a unit around him, and that I think that is an importance of fatherhood and family, to have that unit around you. You know, I'm slotting him in at number 3. At number 4.
Chuck, I feel you.
At number 4, I'm going I'm going Bernie Mac's character on Bernie Mac.
Oh, you tripping? Because Bernie Mac should have been over Obama, bro.
I'm going 3 and 4.
Let's make this clear. Bernie Mac was a father figure.
And
not a father figure.
And he watched Jordan twirl them ribbons. Twirl them ribbons. He sat in a gymnasium and watched that boy twirl them ribbons.
Hey, sometimes you just got to support your kids.
To his credit, he ain't know until he got there. To his credit, he ain't know until he got there.
I mean, he didn't. But I know Obama ain't never had to deal with it.
And then, number 5, I'm going Carl Winslow.
Okay.
That's my top 5.
The way that Eddie turned out in real life, I can't get Carl. I can't get Carl. Nah. Carl was a horrible dad.
My issue with Carl is you had a child that went. Well.
Yeah.
You had a child that went missing, and you were a cop, and we ain't never heard nothing about no APB. I'm just saying, bro.
As you guys are probably finding out as we dive deeper into this episode, this is the kind of time we're on tonight. So
Carl can't be on the list because he let Steve just come over whenever he did, and I ain't never seen no black dad just let anybody just come up in the house whenever they want to.
Anybody.
Hey, look, man.
That's your list, though. That's your list.
That's my list. That's my list. What you got?
What you got, Chuck?
Eric?
Oh man. Okay. So, my number 1 dad is the goat of goats, Mr. Fred G. Sanford himself.
Bingo.
The big dummy.
Bingo.
That's my number 1. My number 2, I'm gonna have to echo Manny's sentiment, and Jeezy threw a curveball for sure because he said the entire spectrum. But I'll go with old Cliff Huxtable simply because what he did on a large scale culturally for Black fathers, even in the TV space, I'm going to go Bill. Number 3, that's a good one. I think I'm going to go... Oh man, Uncle Phil. I gotta go Uncle Phil. Uncle Phil.
Okay.
Uncle Phil was a legit one. He let that oldest daughter of his run a little wild, and was harsher on Ashley than Hillary. But that's the epitome of a parent who's tired by that last child. And then he fooled around and had another one well into his older years. So,
bro. Ain't no way. Uncle Phil, you made entirely too much money for the whoopsies child.
Bro.
The child.
Yeah, but
that was one of those coming from a donor party and had a little too much champagne.
Too many champagnes.
Champagne.
He had some of that Sham Ripple.
Yes,
Sham
sir.
Pipple.
Yes, sir.
Old Fred G. Number 4. That's a tough one. Because I want to go TV dads, but I kind of don't want to go TV dads. And I don't know these people in real life, so I'm going to go TV dad. Go ahead, Manny. What you was about to say?
No. I think that's what makes it difficult.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, man. So I'm not going to include myself because I would always be number 1 on my list. But number 4. Who would I be number 4? I think, I'm tripping. I got to shout out my boy James Evans. I mean, he was the first TV dad who showed you, he struck fear in you and you was just watching the show.
Yeah. just watching it go down.
Listen, James dealt with a lot. James was tired. James came home tired every day.
And as a dad now, I feel that.
I understand.
I feel that deeply.
I understand.
A moment of rest.
My number 5 dad, I'm going to have to go. This is going to be a bit weird.
Uh-oh.
MLK.
MLK?
Bruh.
Here's my reason.
I really want to ask you to expound on that.
Here's my reason.
Brother yes, Dr. King.
Go ahead, Chuck. Go ahead, Chuck.
Although, as a father, we all want to leave a legacy to our children. And in that, he left a legacy for his children.
He did.
Now, unfortunately, he was not around to raise and rear his children from their younger years, because a couple of his children went astray and kind of, went down the beaten path. But
Bernice, sorry, I
bro. No Bernice slander on my watch.
Not Bernice.
MLK the third.
I was about to say,
and that other one.
No, I'm trying to remember
what
the
time
name
we
of the
really
other
on
one.
tonight.
But I said him because I ain't have no other one. I just want to throw a curveball in there.
That's
but seriously, he left a legacy. So legacy.
What in the words of Manuel Lin Miranda, what is a legacy? It's planting trees in a garden that you will never get to see.
The Tonys was the other night, brother.
I'm sorry. Hamilton is just one of my favorite musicals of all time. I believe I have that thing the entire thing committed to memory. But yeah, it just seemed like a fine time to slide that in.
Indeed. It's June.
All right,
Eric.
What's your lineup?
I was thinking about it. I was going through. I think there's a Mount Rushmore, right? You got your Uncle Phil. You got your, James Evans, Cliff Huxtable.
Ooh, I like James Evans.
That's what. I gotta give
like
Chuck
that.
that one. I gotta give Chuck that. He threw that one in there. I won't give you top 5. I'll just add 2 to that Mount Rushmore. One movie, one TV. I'll take movie. God, what is his name? Pursuit of Happiness. Chris Gardner. Big fan of that role. Just like the vulnerability piece. Because you were touching on earlier, Manny, with like going back to a village and being vulnerable and that emotional touch point, emotional intelligence.
Yeah.
Being the resident therapist. I'm already leaning into that and just being able to see.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah, you know me, man.
In that bag.
Yeah, and just being able to see an actual depiction of struggle and being able to be vulnerable with your children and go through something like that and then actually come on the other side of it, right? And see actually Black excellence and achievement even through struggle. I think Chris Gardner was a great example of that. And then I'll take one more modern one because I think y'all hit some really cornerstone ones. Andre from Blackish, Andre Johnson.
Sure.
Again, emotions, right? Yeah. I think he's just a good example of modern fathers and being able to kind of flow with the current, racism, systems at large, managing cultural things while trying to be in this upper class, if you will, and trying to be around white counterparts and still hold on to your culture and your values and still being able to pass it down to your kids in a genuine way, not allowing outside external factors influence that. I think he was a great part of that. And then on a macro level, I think he's recently, I'm trying to think if there's any other Black fathers, but like on major television network in prime time, he's one of the fathers I think I haven't seen there. Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeez.
Go ahead, Jeez.
Man, this man, hey, bro. Eric ain't never talked like this, bro. What's going on, bro? It's a clone. It's a clone right now.
Hey, Eric was assassinated in 2020. And they cloned him.
Hey, man. They cloned this, bro. They killed Eric. They killed the real Eric. Hey, bro, they killed the real Eric. Gave us this clone, filled him with antimanium, bro. And now we sitting here talking to this man, bro. This man ain't never said nothing like this. This was the most classroom answer I ever heard in my life, bro. Jesus Christ. Nah, let me stop.
That man hit
Black fathers.
That man got in his bag, bro.
All the way.
Boy.
He
all
got
the
in
way.
his, bro. You was in your bag, bro, like a book bag from J.C. Penney's on the first day of school, bro.
Bro.
Jesus, but that was a good answer, bro.
I can't fault the answer.
Can't even fault the answer, bro.
I totally understand the shock, though. I get it. I get it.
I felt like
I felt like I just sat down on the couch.
Bro. I done crossed my ankles on a leather couch.
But you activated that sleeper cell, my 9 to 5 sleeper cell. We're talking about fatherhood and emotions.
All right. So to move forward in the episode, what we want to do is we have a couple of questions that we want to present the group as far as fathers, that we're going to give our actual idea and our thought on some of these things that actually matter to Black fathers. And I think that it's important that you have these gentlemen here to give their different perspective. As you can already tell, we all have different views. We all have different responses to how we approach fatherhood. So the first question I want to give to the group in this episode is, what unique challenges and stereotypes do Black fathers face in American society, and how have those perceptions affected your experience as a father?
Ooh, that was a lot, bro.
That is a lot.
AG's Gucci Man said it best. Heavy. Real heavy.
Real
Topic heavy.
You know, I don't think any of the challenges are unique.
Okay.
Alone. I think they become unique because I think we are dealing with a lot of them all together at once, and trying to give them all top ranking. And I think that's one of the challenges I deal with, between balancing how do I be present, how do I still be loving, how am I being disciplined in what I need to do, while still absorbing my responsibilities, while still also trying to deal with my own wounds from childhood. You know, and it's hard because I think what I'm learning on this journey is that at no point are any of those things all number one all the time. Like, I want them to be number one, but I think that's the first route to failure, is trying to keep them all balanced to be number one. But it's realizing that at some times being present is the most important thing that I can be here. Then in this other moment, being loving is the most important thing that I can do here. And in another moment, being disciplined is being that. And I think that's new. Well, I won't say new, but as like, it's something I feel like more millennial fathers are dealing with, because it's that desire to be able to try to switch all of those and be that kind of person and kind of like fill those voids that I did not necessarily have. Now, was my dad present? Yes, he was. Was he disciplined? Was he loving? Yes, he was absolutely all of those. But I feel like discipline was always number one for him.
Okay.
And I think there were times growing up where I would have just loved for him to switch from being disciplined to being loving. And making that switch of him being loving to him being present. And I think the unfortunate part about like my story, my father passed when I was 21. And this journey of fatherhood for me, I've become more empathetic to him and truly understanding the stress that fatherhood carries, the stress of marriage and all that. And I would have loved to have a conversation with him, like at this point, to be at my house right now and just kick it with me on the back porch while we have a drink and just chat. And to not have that, I think, but it's that perception. And then also just fighting the perceptions of who they think we are. If we look at statistics and you look at, hold on, let me, gotta find the right stat.
Stat man.
Yeah, I was gonna say while you're looking,
yeah,
I was gonna
that's
touch on something.
70%. So according to the CDC, some stats that they ran, about 70% of resident Black fathers engage in daily nurturing compared to 60% of white and 45% of Hispanic. And I think it's caught in a lot what Jeezy says about the Black present father. Like, we're really here, we're really doing this, and this is not downshooting to any other race, because I know now for millennials at a whole, we are there, we are super involved. But yeah, that's kind of my answer. And I almost brutally forgot that it's just not me and G's. So I pontificated a little bit longer than I needed to. So anyways.
Eric said he had something. So go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, man, you said a whole lot, yo. I think you touch on a whole lot of things. Like, the first thing is shout out to you for reflecting back on your relationship with your father and reclaiming that and not allowing what you didn't have or things you missed out on kind of fill the void of like that relationship, and being able to see from his perspective. Now you're able to walk in those shoes, right? And being vulnerable about that. I think that, Black fathers, the stereotypes and stigmas that come with that, right? There's the absent, emotionally unavailable, or disengaged stigma and stereotype that I don't think any of us subscribe or believe in or practice at all. But I do want to talk about like how harmful that is as new parents too, right? And I think that there's this hypervigilance a lot of Black fathers have. It creates this pressure that we have to perform and be this father and be on our shit and doing all this stuff and being this well-attuned, available, present father, when I just want to be a dad, Joe. I just want to take my kid to daycare. I don't want applause, and I don't want to have to always feel like I'm performing for someone to, show that I'm able, or I'm this person that's able to be a parent. I just want to be a father in my neighborhood. But there's this hypervigilance that we're all carrying of, damn, I got to make sure I'm going to doing this and I'm doing that. And that's how we burn the hell out. Yeah. Right. And there's no space for a lot of Black fathers to go to when, kind of to your point, Manny, of this pool of Black fathers in LXI to talk and be vulnerable. And then they take a step back, is who really has the skills to be vulnerable. Being vulnerable is an incredibly tough skill to actually put into play. Right. It sounds good. And we all want connection. Right. That's a biological thing we have. However, you don't get connection just by showing up. You get connection by presence, by that vulnerability you speak of, Manny, right? And speaking of, we were there when you were 21 years old, and that situation happened, right? And that's such a vulnerable moment. And then you ask why we're so tight, right? Yeah. And that's what I'm just echoing, is what you're hitting on, is creating these relationships with other Black men going through similar journeys, because you're like, I'm lacking this, sit down and have a drink with my dad. And that's powerful, man. I just want to recognize that for you, G. That's good shit. And I just think the healing comes, right, in embracing the fullness of who you are and who we are. We're loving, flawed, healing, and growing Black fathers, right? And I'm not parenting to prove society wrong. And I'm doing it to break cycles and build something new for Aiden and something new for all my nieces and nephews.
Hey, Jeezy, you were up to something, bro. Because that dude is not only a clone, he is AI.
I told you, bro. I told you, bro.
Listen, man.
It's dope, man. It's dope with your AI, bro.
Bro, when it comes to Black mental wellness, like, huge for me. Just generational trauma, man. That shit's so.
Hey, bro. We go ahead and book no flights, bro. We got to go up there, and I got to see.
We got to investigate
if this is real. I'm about to start asking him questions. I'm asking him questions that only he would know. Exactly. Only he would know. I got to ask him questions.
We got a couple more questions to go to. It's going to start getting that conspiracy popping.
But don't be trying to divert now and give your therapist your response. We need some of your content too now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
because you've had experiences as well that may not be similar to ours, but definitely pushes the conversation forward. But I want to say this to take my turn in this conversation or this question: why does society? And we've already kind of said it already before, and I want to point it out. Why does society praise Uncle Phil but criticize fathers like LeVar Ball and Deion Sanders?
Pick me.
You go, brother.
All right. So, He's safe. He fit within a box.
No. Let me stop you. Safe is too safe.
I'm getting there.
Okay.
I'm expounding on it.
Let him cook.
Okay. So he fit within a box of normalcy for them. He was a doctor. Your wife was a lawyer. Deion and LeVar Ball were not to take anything away from what they did, but Deion and LeVar Ball were trailblazers.
Yeah.
They wanted to do it their way. They wanted to control the narrative, and they were unapologetic.
Yep.
And this is what I am doing for my kids. And let's throw another father in there. And I'm kicking myself because he actually was my number 5, and I dropped the ball when I got there. Richard Williams. He's right in that same line with LeVar Ball and even Deion. And so in that, because they can't put them in the box, and they demanded, not asked for, not tried to get permission of, but demanded that you would not only respect, but you would see their children at a high level, and you're not going to shortchange them. That's what the issue was for.
Yeah.
But when I think about that, when we talk about perspectives, why is it that we have to, just because a father is confident, just because a father is assertive, just because a father is unapologetic, and what both of those fathers and the third one that you threw in there, they're not problematic fathers.
It's different.
They know their children. You know, you look at what's happened and what's transpired with Deion Sanders. It's rumored that the only reason that he slid was because of his father. But has this young man, with the characteristics that he's displayed, not been something that he has learned from his father and not gone forth? I mean, I've seen a clip today where this reporter today, the clip that I saw, they asked him a question about his father's health. And when they asked him this question, granted, he loves his father, and he could have responded to whatever health concern that his father has. But what he chose to do, he said, "Hey, I'm here for the Browns. I don't want to talk about nothing that got anything to do with my family. I'm here." And I thought that was weird because y'all criticize his dad, but then want to talk to him about his dad. So then the present black father that Deion is, y'all have a problem if they don't look like Uncle Phil.
Very much so.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, here's what I think of when you're talking about LeVar Ball and Coach Prime and Deion. It's a system of, like, you know, we're talking about two black men who didn't need to participate in white systems to achieve success, and they're taking up space and agency, and it pissed people off, the system at large, right? And to Chuck's point, they're unapologetic about it. You know, a lot of times, like, it's a lot of people have to subscribe or not subscribe, assimilate who they are in order to be successful. And here are two strong black men who said, "I'm gonna do it my way." Do you have to agree with everything they say or do? No. You can understand the message and the power within it, though, right? Like, I don't agree with everything LeVar Ball said. However, the way he talks about his children and the confidence that he instills in them and the way he speaks life into them children, I take that from him. Absolutely. So to your point, G's, I think the bigger context you're talking about is, you know, what's okay by the dominant discourse, and what are we allowing kids of color to be in a controlled environment versus, like, dare these kids dream and, you know, stand on their own 10 toes and not only be, you know, in the room, but a seat at the table.
But I think for me, what bothers me is that in a space where black dads don't occupy enough.
Yeah.
And there are different reasons why. It could be because, you know, the dad is incarcerated or what have you. But in a space that is already thin, why does America and America's society hate? And hate is a strong word, but I think it's very appropriate. Why does America hate the present black dad if it does not look like Uncle Phil? I think that is something that needs to be talked about, and really is an examination of the nature of this society.
So I'll say this, brother, and you can go ahead and cue it up.
Let's go. Let's go.
We there. So we there. It's prime time.
Here it is. Here it is. And it's appropriate that it's on part of the politics. Let's go back to the crack era. In fact, no, let's not go back. Let's go before the crack era.
You can go as far as you want.
We can go way back, but I'm gonna speak to that time frame leading up to now. The elegance, the stature of the black man and the black father in the 60s.
Yep.
The strong nature of the black man and what he represented in the 60s, going into the 70s, caused fear into society.
100%.
So then we get into the 80s, and we know crack era, the destruction of the manufacturing sector, because honestly, a lot of those jobs during that time period is what financed and funded our households. They had factory jobs.
Yep.
And so you take away your livelihood, you take away your meaning. Because as fathers, we have two innate feelings in fatherhood: to provide and to protect. And if you take one of those away, the feeling of being inadequate can definitely destroy and break down a man. So then we move into the 80s and the early 90s, and the narrative was all these black men are being locked up. Black fathers aren't present. And there is some truth to black fathers not being present. And we can go through the statistics of the incarceration rate and how it shot up and skyrocketed during this time period, and the disproportionate amount of black men that were locked up compared to other races. So yes, it did play a large factor in that. But I also believe it played a large factor in our generation of fathers being present now. And how we are by far the highest percentage of present and active fathers in our children's lives.
Yep.
As the, I guess you could say, elder statesman of fatherhood in our group with the oldest child. One thing for me that I had to get out of my own way was when people would say, "Oh, I just love that you're there with your children," or at that point, it was my daughter. "Oh, you're just so, you being there is awesome." Why? You ain't got to sing my praise for doing what I'm supposed to do.
Right.
Exactly.
But then I realized, to your point, Jeezy, I'm breaking the stereotype. I'm breaking the perception of the norm. And as I got on and my daughter got older and started school, man, we go to school and school functions and different meetings, and it's more black dads there than anybody.
Yep.
So yeah, that's like I said, I didn't want to go too deep into it, but it was appropriate on part of the politics. We could go much further back, but for this modern time, because to your point, Manny, earlier about your dad and the disciplinary nature of him, I can think back to my grandfather, both of my grandfathers. They were very disciplinarian men. That was the nature of their generation and their mindset. And so to express and show love, that's how they did it. They did it, but it did it in that fashion. Exactly. And so I can think to conversations and having with my mother about her father and how she has openly said how she cannot remember one time when she was growing up that he said, "I love you."
Mm-hmm.
She said,
And that's
"I
a
knew he
norm.
loved me.
Yeah.
I knew he loved me, but he never said it."
Never said it.
I was gonna say, Chuck. I was gonna say, why? Why is that, right? And it's questioning like, where does that come from? And it's a protective factor that turned into a risk factor, right? When you think about protective factors, like taken from Chuck's, like the timepiece of it, like being emotionally stoic and not expressing yourself was a safety risk earlier, right before us. That's been generation passed down, generation trauma, right? Like talking about our fathers, my dad, right? Woo, he's definitely in that echelon of
Shout out to
brothers.
Woo.
Shout out Woo, right? That's my
Woo.
man. He's in that echelon of fathers who did not express emotion, and it was seen through this disciplinary action, and it was protective factor. That's how they were parented. Like you cannot have agency. You can't show up and you can't take up space in a room because that will, at one point, it would get you killed.
Yeah.
And so now being emotional is weak.
Absolutely. And so now I think the biggest piece is what I really value and love about this group is not only do we recognize that we, in so many different ways, work against that, right? To be able to take those things we're learning from our fathers and how we were parented and understand, like, does this help me? Does this not help me? So, but yeah, Chuck, to your point, like it's all, I could talk about systemic and we can get the conspiracy going, but 13th Amendment has shown itself in various times in this history, and cocaine versus crack epidemic is one of them because that separated the nuclear family and had a mistrust in the family system.
Yeah, I just want our listeners to know that's a black man that paid attention in class. That's all I'm gonna say. That man earned it. That man earned that degree.
Not undergrad.
Not just undergrad. Because he definitely won't like that in undergrad.
No, not even.
That boy earned that thing.
I could only hope to do that 2 days after school semester back in undergrad.
Yes, sir.
Collectively.
Yes, sir.
I had 2 brain cells to put together then, buddy.
But to move forward, and this is the hard thing about this episode that we do, because just off this question alone, we could talk.
Oh, we got episodes on episodes on episodes.
We could talk so much, and that's why this is so special. What we're doing, because at least we're having the conversation, but we could break each one of these things down into a segment of its own. But I want to move forward, and I want to ask this question. For the fathers, how do you balance?
Wait, hold on. You said for the fathers as if there was not a non-father on here.
I mean, yeah, you're right.
Hey, man, I think he was addressing all of us. There's black fathers and there's Eric, the father. You know what I'm saying?
There may be somebody that listens that has questions. So I just want to state. Include.
That's fair.
So for this question, I want to just ask, how do you balance passing down cultural heritage and values to your children while also helping them navigate environments where they may be misunderstood or marginalized? And I think that is that's
2 episodes on it. That's a part 1, part 2 episodes.
It definitely can be.
Definitely can.
And Eric, and this is to no slight whatsoever.
You think what I'm thinking?
That I know that you as a biracial man,
yeah,
and then having a child that is of another ethnicity, which adds to the uniqueness of him. I would love to hear.
Yeah.
Since you are our residential therapist,
residential therapist,
I would love to hear your response in this, because when I saw this question, I thought about you, because I know we joke and we do what we do as men, but I was like, for the first time, and I'm admitting it, the first time I thought about it, and I sat back and I said, this is probably the most challenging task of anybody in this group.
Yeah.
When it comes to you.
Mm-hmm.
So can you speak on this, and we'll circle around everybody else, but I want to throw this pause note to your way. And let us hear,
June, it's
and let
June.
our listeners. It's June. You're right. You're right. Shout out to Pride. Um, how do you handle something like this?
Man, and it's funny when I saw this question, I had to sit with it for a little bit. It's June. But one thing I think about when I think about Aiden, he's basically triracial, black, white, and Chinese, and there's a lot of culture within there out of two of the three, to be quite honest. One thing I think about metaphorically is I try to give Aiden roots and wings. I think it's roots in that richness of black culture, Chinese culture, the strength of both sides of his ancestors, and I only speak to what I know, right? My black ancestors, and I trust my partner can do the same for his Chinese culture. However, I think it's more about giving roots and wings in him to take those building blocks of culture and what makes up him and be proud of that. And with that too, I think that you hit it too. It's like at the same time being very aware he's going to enter rooms where people will project assumptions on him before he even opens his mouth and informs folks, right? So I want to teach him emotional intelligence and honestly code switching and not as performance, but as, as protection. And really keeping the door open for him just to be able to not know and to be confused. Because I was confused, man. Like, being biracial and navigating, are you do I fit into this group? Do I fit into that group? Because we live in very absolutes in our mind, right? It's like an all or nothing kind of deal when you think about mood and anxiety. And so, I think about when he gets older and navigating that, it's how do I prepare him to be able to have this self confidence and that he's enough, and he's not going to allow the very harsh world of not undergrad, elementary and high school waters to not push him to feel like he's less than and feel like he has to do something he doesn't identify with, right? I think a lot of things that I deal with the kids that are biracial or even just trying to we think about identity, right? That's kind of what we're talking about, right? Lost in identity. They will jump into that substance use or the more maladaptive behaviors, to give it clinical terms. But as much as I can give him these roots of who Wu is, right? Allowing him to be around my father and my uncles and aunts and the Anthony family and allowing him to understand what black culture is and black excellence and black love is the best thing I can do. I can't speak to it. So while my father is still with me, right, is I take advantage of that. While my grandpa, while, my aunt or my cousins are still here, I'm going to make it my mission to get him there as much as possible to soak that up. Because that's what's going to carry him when he gets older and when you make these decisions based off values. My connection with him and me talking to him will be important. But if I can put him in the environments, right, being around y'all is another one, right? Just being around the culture and letting him connect with it and be vulnerable with it at an early age. When he gets older, he'll be able to speak on that. And, people that may, test his blackness, if you will, or his proximity to blackness, he's able to speak on some real shit and not just be like, oh yeah, well, I do generic black, what these kids might say, but he's able to speak the language and he's able to have that code switch that feels like he's part of some culture.
I want to tackle this next, and I actually, I know we've referenced Anthony Johnson earlier, or Andre Johnson. Anthony Anderson is his real name, but I actually had often said that I live a real life Blackish, and I say that because my daughter is fluent in Spanish,
Yeah.
like completely fluent. It has been fluent since early elementary years, and in those years it allowed us to navigate spaces that were not traditional in the Black community.
Yeah.
And even in the space of family members jokingly, but lovingly calling her Dora. And in
Like
that,
Dora the Explorer?
Yeah, Dora the Explorer.
Okay.
Yeah. And so for me, not only was it the speaking Spanish, but it was also for me having the drive and desire to give my children a better life.
Right.
And because I grew up in the hood and grew up around the hood, I'm not going back to the hood. I'm going to do for the hood, but I don't want to live there again.
Right.
So having to balance that, quote unquote, keeping it real, but at the same time showing my children another level of life. Like when we would have Thanksgiving and the entire family comes back together, I worked hard and my children went to my grandmother's house and they have their iPads and all of their cousins is hovered around them because they don't have access to this stuff.
Right.
And, my son talking about the different game systems he has, or when family comes over and his cousins are flocking to these things. I have to make sure I've allowed them to understand just because you have does not make you better than.
Right.
And in regards to cultural heritage and values, there are those foundational things that I want them to have from the Black space. But at the same time, I'm establishing our own values, our own traditions that encompass that Black culture, that Black heritage.
And what's valuable to you.
And what's valuable to me, for sure. And so in that, you have to instill in them that be happy and proud of who you are, no matter the space. Be you, be strong in who you are, because when you go to advance yourself, you can be looked at sideways in Black spaces.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, the term of talking white or sounding white.
Yeah.
And I know Eric said it in code switching. I have a disdain for the connotation that comes on that because it is used to diminish your authenticity sometimes. And in that, I even for myself, people's like, oh, you talking like a white boy. No, I'm talking proper because my mother stayed on my head about
talking proper,
how I speak. My mother was in the education system and as a teacher, and so she just stayed on my head. Simple as that. Now, can I get it in the space and slang it up? For sure. But it's a matter of me understanding time and place. And that's what I put into my children. Even the schools they've gone to, some of them have been predominantly white. I am honored to say that my daughter made the choice on her own to go to a HBCU because she wanted to be surrounded by that culture. And, as long as we're putting our children in spaces and instilling in them to know you are who you are, no matter who's around. That's the number one thing.
And I think,
go ahead, Manny.
And I think you hit on it perfectly when you talk about balance. When I think about my kids, I want them to be proud of who they are and where they come from. But I also have a job as a parent to prepare them for a world that's not going to welcome them with open arms. And then the denominator balancing all of that is, how do I balance giving them everything that I have access to versus the character traits that got built because I didn't have access to those things.
Yes, sir.
Good point.
And it's a hard balance, but I think my plan is, make sure they know the history. Start it from there, but make sure that they have those tools that make them successful. To one of the points that you called out, Eric, being able to operate in those spaces. I was a Black Republican.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think you see, especially in the Republican Party pre-Trump, is most of the African Americans that were involved were forced into like this little box of like, oh, you're going to work on diversity.
Yeah.
That wasn't me. I was a policy for my political society. I was focused on policy, writing good policy that would impact all people, especially, my people.
Yeah.
So I think it is a balance, but I think something we just have to constantly be intentional about trying to have that balance. I want them to be successful.
Yeah.
But my biggest struggle here is I have McDonald's money now.
Yeah.
Facts.
It's like so you want to give them everything.
Yeah, like
but at what cost? At what cost?
like that the struggle of the hood, the struggle of not, hey, we're gonna have this same bowl of meatballs and spaghetti because we know it's gonna have to last 4 or 5 days.
Oh, you had meatballs?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, you privileged.
man, you had a good point though. You had a good point, right? It's managed. It's the balance.
Yeah.
And I think two things can be true, right? You can be very understanding of I will not let my kids go without and teach boundaries.
Yeah.
Kids can still have nice things and mean nothing, but they deserve things, right? And it's how you teach and how you introduce it. I think about what I write down here. You guys hit a lot of things. Value aligned behaviors. When you're talking about like what do we build for our kids and what was Chuck talking about? It's like this. That's why I think that his daughter chose a black college, right? It's like their value was rooted in some blackness all through. You think about like we watch these kids grow up, right?
Yeah.
And we see that they really surrounded them with healthy black nuclear family values. And so it makes sense when they get into this space of autonomy and where they want to be, take up space and have agency. That's where she chose to go. And I think that echoes the power and the success. And honestly, the gratefulness I got to be able to look at Chuck and Kiana and pull from them, or look at Jeezy and Jasmine, or Manny and Shan. Just like we're able to look at each other from different examples, and we're able to kind of point out to that being black and being a black father is not a monolithic experience. There's not one way that we can show up, and I think that's what traps a lot of black fathers is we let society push us to only be able to show up if I can be this thing, and that's when I deserve value, or I deserve respect, or I deserve validation. And the biggest piece I've taken from just parenthood and fatherhood and black fatherhood in general is I'm allowed to show up in different ways. I can be a tired father. I could be tired and present, right? It doesn't mean I can't be present and tired. And reframing what does tired mean for me, right? Tired means that I'm doing things that are with my values that's challenging me, and me engaging with my child is tiring. And that means I'm doing the work of being a father. So instead of being like, God, I'm just so tired and just being so like in the mood about it, that's going to give me energy. Like I got to reframe it. And the new style of like what I think parenthood is for us as black fathers is reframing what these emotions mean when they come to us. Accepting we're going to have emotions, man. It is what that's just what it is. And what our fathers did that we shouldn't do now is ignore that. And I think that we have a very healthy space that we've created that we don't allow those things to go ignored. And we show up for each other and we really come up with these emotions and we process that stuff. And when you role model that for your kids, that's powerful. That's better than any book. That's better than any sit down convo or, in the sitcom dad style, beautiful music, sit down, hug thing. It's when you're able to role model this shit every day and show up like being an adult and being successful is me hitting my goals in life and showing up my bullshit.
Yeah.
And the more you can role model that, the more your kids will be that well attuned.
Well, I think that to piggyback off of something that you said, Eric, was we're so fortunate as a group of gentlemen.
Yeah.
That we have the support system to be able to do those things.
Yeah.
To support each other in whatever way we needed. And I know this is a question that'll be for later, but that is something that needs to be that shouldn't be taken lightly. Because I think that when I look at our group, there are a lot of men that don't have what we have.
A lot.
And we are so fortunate, and I speak as a person who is a single, a only child, excuse me, that doesn't have any brothers or sisters or siblings, but you guys are that for me. And when I think about this question that we have, it makes me think, and it often worries me about my youngest, is that how do I handle the ugly of society, of the world, while preserving the beauty within the child?
The innocence of childhood.
I can help you there, brother.
Okay.
And that's something that I dealt with my daughter in reassuring her she is everything that she thinks she is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Regardless of what comes up against her, regardless of what she may encounter, you champion her, you support her, but most of all, you're that support. When those moments come, uh, you're just there as a reinforcement of who she is. Because I can say about your daughter, your youngest, man, her personality, she's so full of life. And I often tell people and other parents, and we'll get into this later, but don't dim your children's light in any capacity. Allow them to be who they are, continue to nurture it, and instill those strong foundational things. Speaking of culture and values, one thing that I did for mine is I made them learn lift every voice. I required them to give me a book report in Black history, simply because
that's good.
I can tell you this stuff.
Hey, Uncle Chuck for this idea.
Listen,
the layers of just, man, there's so many layers to that.
Yeah, and so for me, it was, I could tell you this stuff all day long.
Yeah.
But when you go get it yourself, it adds something to it. To the point now, my daughter was in a program and they had them sing it, and she was like the only one who knew it.
Then get to that second verse and start humming through it.
Hey, bro, let me tell you.
If you know that second verse, you've rehearsed it.
Oh yeah, it ain't many people that know that second verse, bro. Don't act like you was standing with the slaves. You don't know it. You don't know it
at all.
And Google's lift every voice second.
Right.
But to something you called out, Eric, the stats show, according to the CDC, 13% of Black men reported no close friends.
Hold on. What's that number again? Say that again.
13% of Black men have no close friends. Absent of fathers, so just looking at Black men as a whole.
Yeah.
But from that same report, 70% of Black men rely on their friends for emotional support.
Yikes.
And that is a strange dichotomy that you have to navigate through of how who do you go to when you need support? How are you managing?
Who can I run to when I need love?
Sweet love. And my mind is so confusing. Oh, sorry, Rick. That's a jam.
But for that question, though, most men don't have what they need to do that. Like again, like I said before, we're blessed. If I know that I need if I need my residential therapist that's within the group, I know who I can call. Yeah. If I need to talk about this particular topic, I can call Manny. I know if I can call Chuck for this. Like, we have that, and it's crazy to me when you read off that statistic that there are so many men who don't have what we have.
But I can tell you, I'm not shocked by it. I'm actually shocked that the number is not higher. Yeah. And the reason I say that is because it is programmed in our minds to not be expressive.
Yeah.
Yep.
It is programmed in our minds to not care, to not show emotion. And so
have a daughter.
Have a daughter
and all that.
Big facts. Big facts. I even
either die or learn.
No, I'll say it for myself. Like, I've always been an expressive person.
Yeah.
Good or bad. I've gotten in trouble for it. But my daughter changed the dynamic of my expression. I kind of touched on it in my last podcast, where I have a sister who is a year younger than me. And so with my sister, I refuse to allow her to be a punk, and nobody's going to take advantage of her. She's going to be rough, rugged, and get out here and be a killer. And I treated her in that fashion because we were so close in age. Even though I'm the oldest, I refuse to allow you to be subjected to this. But I cannot talk to my daughter and put into my daughter the same things that I put into my sister in regards to your emotional intelligence, your emotional well-being.
Yep.
And I can't even respond to her the same way because I would ruin her. So like you said, Jesus, have a daughter, man, it'll change all that.
Change everything, bro.
I think, there's a lot, man. Y'all hitting some really good points. I think the one thing we're talking about is like, Black men finding these spaces. The first thing I'm thinking about is just, it's the inability to, and it's not because, and excuse me, I agree with you, Chuck. Like, it's definitely a lot of things teach us and condition us, and it's the skills actually to know how to do it. Like, how do you explain being vulnerable to somebody to where it's palatable?
Bruh.
And being vulnerable is that if you cannot be vulnerable with people, places, and things, you will live a very isolated life. There's no, you can't.
Hey, little secret here.
Yeah.
The women can't do it either.
Yeah, at all. At all. And that's the thing is, like, you got to be able to be vulnerable, and open up and present yourself in a way that how you feel, where your feet are. Instead of, again, there's this hard drive of we can only show up in the world this way.
Yeah.
And the power of what you're talking about, Jeezy, is like the space we have here. We are come as you are in such an authentic way in the LXI group.
Yeah.
And the world does not give that to us at all. You're talking about occupationally, you're talking about the roles that we play in life. We're supposed to be stoic. We're supposed to be, have these answers. And we're pushing back against that narrative. And I think about a lot of Black fathers is they're very connected to like anger as an expression, is like is the stigma, the old stigma and stereotype. I'm gonna say we're breaking new grounds on that. However, it's very, very much connected. And the one thing I say is, it's unpopular, but it's true. Anger is not even a real emotion. Okay. It's a product of fear and sadness.
Yeah.
And so you're thinking about a lot of men.
That boy paid attention, boy. That boy paid attention.
He said,
he got his money's worth.
Listen,
you earned that.
I gotta pay this. Brother, let me tell you, you know how much that degree costs? I gotta pay it off.
Oh, bruh. You and your bag. Go ahead.
So you're thinking about fear and sadness, man. And that's a lot of vulnerability to express fear. As a Black man, to say I'm scared.
Yeah.
Or I'm sad are the two hardest things Black men could probably do.
Yeah.
And so that's vulnerability. And so what do? We use anger because it pushes things away, right? It's an avoidance tactic. It's an isolation tactic. And then what we do is we go on social media and you see these clowns out here talking about some lone wolf bullshit of, men suffer in silence. But man, excuse me, screw that. It's absolutely stupid to think that you are supposed to do this by yourself.
Yeah.
No new friends. No new friends.
That whole get it out the mud by yourself, man. No, thank you. I choose better. I choose happiness. I choose peace. I choose mental wellness.
If some of these YNs got the experience, well, the connection we got in this group, they be like, oh, this feel warm and cozy.
They give
up them poo shiesty masks real quick.
The group that we got and the potent product that we have, it might hit their chest like a Newport, buddy.
Bruh.
It might hit their chest like a Newport.
Yeah, straight menthol.
People can't look. What we have created, man, is a beautiful thing, and not everyone can. It's probably really. I think it would be really uncomfortable for someone to jump in our group and see the way we engage with each other.
Yeah,
because we're so vulnerable.
Yeah,
Eric, So I've never heard that fear is not a real emotion, that it is the byproduct. Anger is not a real emotion. It's a byproduct.
That was a bar.
It was. And like, I'm sitting here just even thinking, I don't remember the last time I've just said, I'm sad.
And being okay with that.
And thinking about to like the times I was angry.
Yeah.
How much that was just like,
sadness,
me being sad, and me having a fear of not knowing what to do next,
or being accepted.
Yeah,
dare I say, for you to be a Black man and sad, to be accepted by, and it's not no slight to anyone's partner or anybody in life. It's just what's been instilled, to Chuck's point, conditioned in you that you're not worthy of those things or being loved unless you are one way.
Eric, we are not about to pass a collection plate for you, bro.
Boy, you in your bag, boy.
We're not about to pass that collection plate.
You can try to build Blue Cross Blue Shield. I think they might take it.
But no, Eric, that's an amazing point. And I think that, in all honesty, that is the cap of this episode, bro.
Yeah.
I really think so, bro. Because that is that is a beautiful point that men should take and really examine themselves to that degree, because oftentimes we don't look at things that way.
Ever. We're not allowed to.
We don't, and we're not allowed to. So it's all that's the man. Let me tell you that is beautiful, Eric. And I think that for what it's worth, all them years of
Here we fucking go, yo. Here we go. Go ahead, G.
No, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. But
you ain't gotta say it though. I know what you was gonna say.
For this to be a Father's Day episode, I am proud of the growth that you have.
I'm sorry.
Y'all listeners ain't gonna understand. Our listeners ain't gonna understand what I'm saying, but I just want to let you know I'm proud of you.
Bro.
I'm proud of you. And man, you have definitely grown. And I know that not only is Charmaine benefiting from this, but Aiden as well is benefiting from the growth that you've had. And I want to let you know that I'm proud of you, son.
I could have put. You know what, man? Hey,
I had to one time, bro.
Things are going too good, brother. I said, yo, this is one too many compliments in a row. It hasn't been a week,
bro. I had to, but none other than that. I think that this episode, and God, man, we should do this more often, because I think that the masses need not just black dads, not just involved black dads need to hear this, but I think this is just good, just as a palate cleaner.
Yes.
From all that we've dealt with in politics and life and society, to have this. And I will say, and I hope that I'm not speaking ill in this, but this is definitely part one of this conversation.
Oh man, but for sure.
In the block, I'm here for it.
And I think that if you would like to hear more of what we have to say, our brother here, Chuck, has a beautiful and very wise-filled podcast called Encompass. And we've talked about it on previous episodes here at Partner Politics. But if you have not had a chance to go listen to this brother speak, and I'm speaking his flowers as a black present father.
Absolutely.
In spite of all the things that he has had to endure, in spite of all the things that currently are going on in his life, he's still able to share wisdom to the masses. I would implore you to please go and listen to our brother Chuck. And if you don't have anything enticing to go carry you over to his podcast, if you've liked this episode and the conversation that we've had, we're going to continue part 2 over on his platform.
Absolutely. We'll clean our mirrors, is what they would say.
Yes, sir. We gonna take a water break. We're gonna go to the water fountain and get a little water. And we're going to come back with part 2 over on his platform. So if you like what we've talked about today here on Partner Politics, and I know it's not politics, and I know that it's not our norm. We don't have a pickle of the week and the spotlight of the week, but certainly we have given you something to hopefully
chew on,
digest, and go forward better than where you were at before we started this episode. Come over to the new episode that will be coming out in Encompass podcast, and we will pick up part 2. So I'm gonna leave it at that, Manny.
And happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
It's the day
happy
after
Father's Day.
After Father's Day. By the time you guys are listening to this, so happy Father's Day, y'all.
Yep.
And like we always say here,
happy Father's Day to the fathers.
To the fathers.
We said it the last episode.
As the pappy.
Y'all get the big piece of chicken today.
If no mothers,
just mothers
to the fathers.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody else?
And if you are a father who has not done your job, you still have a chance.
The time is always right.
Have an opportunity to do the right thing. You're never too far from doing the right thing. And though you may have lost out on time, you still can make things right. So if you are one of those fathers, make things right with your children, make things right in your family, and build that bond. But most of all, thank you, Eric. See, that's in that bag that you in, brother. Make things right with yourself so that you don't carry generational trauma into your children, but you build them and you develop them into what they can be, not what you used to be.
Yeah.
Hey.
Thank you. Hey,
leave it there, bro.
Well, and like we always say here at part of the Pardon the Politics, that if don't no one else love y'all, just know y'all. The boys here at the pod, we love y'all.
We love y'all. Take care.
We'll
see y'all the next episode. Take care, world, and we'll see you then.